Jeff, I'm unhappy. I want to get a divorce. Although Jeff was somewhat shocked, he wasn't completely unprepared. They've been married for almost 20 years, but Darlene has been spending a lot of time lately talking to her friend, and so called marriage expert Miranda. Miranda's experience was based on the fact that she'd gone through 3 divorces. Jeff, can you hear me? I want to get a divorce. Yes, Dare, I heard. But this is such a serious matter that I don't want to answer hastily. I think I was as loving and devoted a husband as possible. I think I was a good father. You didn't mention any problems in our personal lives, so I don't know anything about what happened. But after I heard you, my answer is this. I cannot accept the idea that marrying me will deprive you of the chance to be happy. Although it breaks my heart, I will support you in the divorce. But tell me, is the reason for the divorce something that happened recently, or has it been accumulating for some time? Darlene replied, Yes, gradually. I need some space, some time to explore other possibilities, to meet other people. As far as I understand, the court requires that we be legally separated within 90 days after signing the documents. Eventually, I might change my mind and want to stay married. Maybe. We won't have to get divorced. Jeff reflected, This is close to what I've heard from other people talking about their divorces. During the 90-day separation period, we both date other people, and it doesn't count as cheating. But in the end, we both have to agree to stop the divorce. However, either of us can continue the divorce without the consent of the other party. Jeff realized that Darlene didn't fully understand that he would have the same freedom as she did. I thought that if I applied first, it would depend on me whether to continue the marriage or go for divorce. Darlene hesitated. Jeff retorted, I don't think that's right, but just in case, I'll apply too, so that we're in the same position. Isn't that fair? I guess, Darlene stammered. Are you saying you want to get a divorce? Obviously, I got the wrong impression that I was the right husband, father and lover. No, I don't want a divorce, but I won't stand in the way of your future. Honey, I never said that you were inadequate. You were a wonderful husband, father, and lover. I just want to experience something new and unusual. Spend some time with other people. It could make me feel better. I just need some time. Darlene, the fact that you need more than I can give you defines my inadequacy. He paused for a moment, then continued. Have you already got a lawyer and filed the paperwork? She ignored his response regarding the feeling of inadequacy. No, it's not. I don't have the documents yet. I plan to use J.R. Lewis. He handled Miranda's divorces. So Darlene confirmed the source of this idea of finding something more for herself from her marriage. Well, I'll probably ask my cousin Sally to take over my part of the divorce. Sally? From hell? Dare, I know you don't like Sally, but she's a really good person. Her reputation as a bitch stems from her work. She really fights for her clients, whether they are men or women. Ironically, after the last family barbecue, probably because she drank too much, Sally volunteered that if I ever needed a divorce lawyer, she would handle it for free. Wow, Jeff continued. We have a lot to talk about. I suggest we spend the next 2 weeks preparing for the divorce. This way, we can start our separation on the 1st of the month. Is this normal? Probably. I don't understand why we have to do anything before the separation is over. Jeff explained, Well, I guess the purpose of separation is to see what it's like to be divorced, so we can decide if we really want a divorce. This means that the period of separation should be, so to speak, a practice of what life will be like after a divorce. Or we won't figure anything out until the divorce itself. It can be quite messy. Does that make sense to you? Probably. I really hadn't thought about it. Darlene's resolve was weakening. I'll tell you what. Why don't we go to the kitchen, grab a notebook, and start planning everything we need to do? I'll put the coffee on." With that, Jeff got out of bed and headed for the kitchen, leaving Darlene to think. By the time Darlene reached the kitchen, the coffee was already boiling and Jeff was scribbling in a notebook. "Well," Jeff continued, "there's so much to think about that it's hard to decide where to start. I think we need to talk about the kids first." "What are you talking about?" "Well, we're going to have to tell them what's going on, and we both have to say the same thing and try to make sure they don't think our divorce is their fault." Darlene was very worried. Both girls were very emotional and could take bad news badly. "I don't understand why we have to tell them so much. Can't we just wait 90 days and maybe we won't have to tell them anything at all?" "But, dear, how will you explain to them when they ask, 'Why doesn't Dad live here anymore?'" "But why don't you live here? We will still be their mother and father. I assumed that you would continue to live here during the separation, and that that we would be able to go outside sometimes without disturbing the children's lives." "I don't think that's going to work, Dar. First of all, it would mean that we would have to coordinate our dates. One of us might get mad at the other if one of us wants to go on a date one night and the other says it's inconvenient. We might think that the other is trying to keep us from dating. Most importantly, how are you going to experience what it would be like after a divorce if you behave the same way as you do now? In addition, children may guess or hear from others that we were seen walking with other people. We must tell not only the girls, but also all our relatives and friends. Otherwise, they may think that we are cheating on each other. The worst thing is that I'm afraid no matter how we explain it to the children, they will probably think it's their own fault. This is unfortunate, but from what I understand from child psychology, it is impossible to prevent children of divorce from feeling that it is partly their fault. We just have to make sure that we say the same thing and really emphasize our love for them. They are good children, and they will probably adjust eventually, although it may require some professional therapy. They might even enjoy having extra grandparents from your new boyfriend and my new girlfriend. More gifts for birthdays and holidays. Of course, we will have to coordinate very closely where and when we spend birthdays. Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. We can barely do that now with only one set of grandparents. Besides, if I stay in the house, you'll have to meet your man at his house or at an expensive motel. It would be wrong if you or I brought a lover home when the other is at home with the children. In addition, we need to figure out what it means to have two families for our finances. Obviously, this will mean that we will have less money to live on because we will add the cost of renting my apartment and utilities to our current expenses. You'll have to get used to paying and taking care of everything that we share together now. And I do for the family myself. Joint assets are usually divided 50-50. This means that we will have to cancel all joint checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, and then arrange alimony for you and child support. Fine. There are so many things to do before the first day. Darlene was sitting in shock. She didn't know what to say. Jeff continued, "I'll try to rent an apartment closer to work. This way, the girls will have a bed when they stay overnight on the nights when I have visits. The standard for visiting in most divorces is that the spouse outside the home can see the children every weekend and every other big holiday if the domestic spouse does not agree to more. Jeff, I expected you to date girls a lot more often. There are homework, sports, drama, and other events that they are used to. Both you and they seem to be enjoying their time together so much. Darling, I will try to be as much a part of their lives as possible. However, you and your boyfriend husband should be willing to take some of what I do. It's just a reality. Weekday evenings will be difficult for visits because it's better for them to be at home since they have school that next day. If I find someone else, she may have children too. and I may have to help them with homework and extracurricular activities. You may have to help your new husband with the kids. Then there will be the problem of storing clothes and toiletries in 2 places. School transport, since I may. Not live on the bus route for their school, and just breaking the routine. It's not going to be easy for any of us. Everything is not going as Miranda promised, Darlene thought. She said that her husband would give up at the mention of divorce and offer to continue doing everything he did for the family, but also allow her to meet others on the side. I'm quickly losing control of the situation. Jeff, I'm shocked. I need to get some sleep. We'll talk more tomorrow. I'm going back to bed. Are you coming? She was hoping he would come and she would try to use the bed to get him to give up without all this accepting responsibility and sharing the money. I'm sorry, dear, but I need to write something down before I go to bed. You know how my brain works. The more we do before the first day, the better we will feel. Good night, darling. Darlene hardly slept. She needed to talk to Miranda and tell her about Jeff's unexpected reaction. Miranda would have known what to do next. This confidence allowed her to finally fall asleep. She woke up to start her day and immediately noticed that Jeff hadn't slept in bed with her. Oh my God. That fool stayed up all night working on the divorce list. But when she entered the kitchen, Jeff wasn't there, just a notebook on the kitchen table. Darlene looked into the guest bedroom and found her husband fast asleep. She returned and began to eat breakfast. While everything was being prepared, she looked at her notebook. Under the heading issues for which responsibility needs to be changed were mortgage, homeowners insurance, gas, water, electricity, cable, cell phone, garbage, internet security, car payment, car insurance, medical insurance, medical insurance, medical insurance, medical insurance, Amazon, membership in Lifelink, medical evacuation Lifelight. This was in addition to all the banking changes they were talking about last night. On the next page was a draft of his new expenses related to his stay in the apartment and a projected budget showing how much alimony she would need to maintain her and the girl's current lifestyle. This meant that they were missing several $100s a month. He also compiled a list of ways to cut costs. Jeff will have to give up his favorite trips to the Waffle House and Starbucks. He's going to be in a lot of pain, she scoffed. Then there was her gym membership, the women's group she was in, and eating out more than once a week. He even listed some of the children's expenses, as some extracurricular activities contained fees, uniforms, and other necessary materials to pay for. The effect on children was not included in the calculation of her divorce scheme. On another page, he had a list of things Darlene had to do, which included filling up the car with gas, regular car maintenance, calling a mechanic, calling a plumber, calling a heating and air conditioning repair service, mowing lawns, washing cars, buying groceries, etc. She had to put down her notebook. Why doesn't Jeff behave the way he should and give me what I want? I need to call Miranda before Jeff gets up. Hello. Miranda? This is Darlene. How did it go last night? Miranda's voice expressed excitement and expectation of a positive response from Darlene. Instead of asking what he could do to make things better so that I wouldn't divorce him, he agreed to the divorce and then started making a list of all the things he's doing now that I'll have to do if we get divorced. Jeff plans to rent an apartment and take care of the girls only every weekend. He says that we need to actually break up and act like we are really divorced so that we can make a more informed decision about whether to divorce or not after 90 days. He doesn't act like divorce really scares him. What should I do? Gift, gift, gift. Stupid girl. Bottom line, you control the children and the area between the legs. Only these 2 things will keep him in check. It's all talk on his part. Don't worry. Soon you and Robert will be doing everything in bed and you will still have a husband and a home. I hope you're right, and Robert is worth it. Well, Jeff hasn't actually done anything yet. I'm going to stay strong, at least until I see what he's really going to do. Thank you, Miranda. He stands up. I have to go. Hey, Jeff, do you want some coffee? Darlene asked nervously. Her husband staggered over to the coffee pot and said, Drinking coffee late last night wasn't a good idea. I hardly slept. Why didn't you come to bed? Well, I was walking, but I didn't trust myself. What do you mean, honey? I saw you sleeping without anything. You're still the most beautiful woman I know. I'm afraid I'd assume that if you'd let me do this, it would only be a bed of pity to ease my pain caused by the divorce proposal. I wasn't sure I wouldn't give up. Darling, we're still married. I am yours and yours alone, at least until the separation happens. Can't we act like husband and wife until then? I'm afraid not. I am more confident than ever that the separation activities should begin as soon as possible. Although the official breakup doesn't start until the 1st of the month, it actually started the second you said, I'm unhappy. It's going to be hard for me, but I really want to see you happy, even if I no longer play an important role in your life. Jeff, you seem to forget all the time. In fact, it's just a separation, and we don't need to get divorced. Relax. Give me some time to find myself. And I'm sure we'll stay married, and it'll be even better than before. I wish I could believe that. I decided to take the day off. Billy can look after the repair crews during the day. In this way, I can set in motion some separation issues. It won't take effect until the 1st, so we'll have 90 full days when we can really experience what happens if we get divorced. By the way, I'll get us both more cash than usual. You need to use cash until we can get our own credit and debit cards. Fortunately, we both have separate checking accounts, apart from a large joint account. I will transfer half of the amount from the shared account to each of our separate accounts. We need to do this now so that we can receive new cards and checks by the 1st of the month. Tonight, I'm going to tell you what I've done and what you need to do to get control of your part of the assets. Oh, you better hurry up so you won't be late for work. I'll make breakfast for the kids and take them to school. Darlene didn't do a very good job as an office manager for the regional insurance department. Robert, as usual, came in to flirt. Tall with dark wavy hair and a smile that made women dress impeccably in the hope that he would stop and talk to them. After telling Darlene how beautiful she was and how she must be underestimated, he asked when they could go listen to beautiful music again. Darlene began to worry and told Robert that they would soon be able to be together in a more comfortable environment. However, she would call him later today, near the elevator. When he left, her worries about being separated from Jeff were replaced by memories of Robert kissing her during the 2 short elevator rides they had taken in the last few months since he came to work. When Darlene returned home from work, she saw evidence that Jeff had been there during the day. She felt better prepared emotionally to deal with him in all the financial nonsense he was talking about. It was simple. I have 90 days to fool around. We stay married, and then I try to figure out how Robert and I can do it after that, without getting caught. She sat down at the kitchen table and looked at her notebook again. Jeff added a few more items to the list. Then she noticed a new list. It was called Possible Women for Today. There were 2 columns. Women who have already shown interest in women. I would like to know if they are interested. The columns weren't long, but the names in the first column shocked her. One of them is her own sister Erica. Darlene called her immediately. Hello, Dare, Erica replied. How are you? How dare you try to steal my husband? You, a tramp. Hey, slow down, girl. What are you talking about? Jeff made a list of women who told him they wanted to date him, and your name is on it. I don't know about the list, but I once told him, after I'd had too much to drink, that if he ever got smart and left his stupid, ungrateful wife, I wanted to replace you. Wait, what's going on that he's showing you a list of women who want him? Are you saying there's trouble in paradise? Did you catch him, or did he catch you when you were with someone else? That's not the point. I just told him that I needed some space, some time for myself to explore a new relationship. Here, Erica interrupted her. Yeah, that's what you're looking for on the side. Who is he, or are there several of them? No, I haven't been close to anyone yet. While Jeff and I will just go through a 90-day separation and then decide whether we want to stay married or not. It's not a big deal. Obviously, you have someone in mind, but I don't care. So you're telling me that someday soon, the two of you will be legally separated, and if someone wants to do this to Jeff, there's nothing you can do about it. Let me know the date, and I guarantee that a second after midnight, I will beg for a date and make it absolutely clear that my body belongs to him, to use it the way he wants, and that I am not my sister, and I will be absolutely faithful to him for the rest of my life. You better stay away from him. Or what? There's nothing you can do if you have a legitimate separation. And the point is, you're the one asking for it. All these years you've been bragging about what a good breadwinner he is, what a good husband and father. Most of all, you talked about what a wonderful lover he is. And you want to throw it away. How can you be such a fool? Have you suddenly become a blonde? Like I said, let me know as soon as he's free. This is the only time in our lives when I will be glad to receive help from my older sister. While after the call, Darlene tried to calm down. It didn't help that she looked at the lists of women again. She saw Jenny, his secretary, a short single mother, absolutely gorgeous, but almost 20 years younger than Jeff. However, she was at the top of the list there, which meant that she showed interest in dating her husband. She probably desperately needs a sweet daddy to take care of her and the baby. There were 2 women on the list, one of whom was married. That's probably what the letter M next to her name meant. The other 2 names were other women who worked at the same place as Jeff. She recognized a few more names of the women on the list. They were from our neighborhood too. Jeff did a lot of free work for the neighbors. Although he had a degree in psychology, he worked as a handyman in college. He liked this job, and he developed his business so much that now he had 3 teams working under him. I think he was looking at the plumbing of the women, as well as the plumbing of their homes. The 3 women on the list had no names, only a note waitress at the Waffle House, barista at Starbucks, and a clerk at Walmart. I wonder how many other women find him as attractive as Erica. I really didn't think he would date during the separation. Maybe he already has someone in mind. Jeff entered the house and saw his wife looking through a notebook. He was almost sure what the next topic of conversation would be. Well, Jeff, it looks like you didn't waste any time looking for a replacement for me, my own sister. How could you? I was just trying to catch up with you in choosing a boyfriend. What? What do you mean? I don't have a boyfriend. What about Robert Turner? How do you know about that Robert Turner? What are you going to do about it? I was at Walmart today and ran into Sylvia, your boss's secretary, during my lunch break. She's an old gossip girl. Don't believe anything she says. After a significant pause, Darlene couldn't resist asking, what did she say? Sylvia said, as far as I understand, you are good friends with one of our new partners, Robert Turner. I must have looked puzzled because she explained since he visits your wife's office several times a day, and they have lunch together every day. I asked Darlene what was going on. You know that our president pursues a strict policy of excluding intra-office fraternization. Anyway, Darlene explained that Robert was an old college buddy of yours, and that you all do things together a lot. That's why I think Robert is at least one of the men you'd like to experiment with during a separation. How far have you gone in your research? Robert is just a friend. We didn't do much except talk, and I think he might be someone I'd like to date. He is very nice to me and praises my appearance even when I am not in the best shape. Anything special? Have you two done anything that I wouldn't like to see? When Darlene quickly recalled the scenes in the elevator, her expression gave away the answer. Maybe it's more important that you both did something that his wife would have been against. The wife. He's not married. Who told you he was married? What kind of woman do you think I am? Well, you're not really interested in the men you want to meet. I'm going to open his Facebook page now. That's where I got the information from. After a minute of computer searching, Jeff continued. Is this Robert Turner? Well, yes. What does it say about his marital status? It says he's married to Cynthia and has 2 sons. Trying to come up with an explanation quickly, Darlene volunteered. It may be old information. He's divorced now. Look again. The site was updated 3 days ago. Don't you think he could tell you something as important as whether he's married or not? And look what his wife wrote the last time. The guys and I can't wait to join Robert when school ends. Johnny and Robert Jr., however, were important players on their high school baseball team and could make it to the state tournament. We'll reunite with the family as soon as the school year is over, or maybe later if they do make it to the state tournament. This one. A sob. I swear he didn't tell me he was married. I won't do anything to ruin someone's marriage. You don't seem to mind ruining your own marriage. There was silence. Darlene knew she was caught. She needed time to think. Robert was the main reason she wanted to break up, but she couldn't let Jeff find out about it. Well, he was just one of several men I'd be interested in dating. I can make a list, just like you. Oh my God. I just remembered something important. If we decide that we want to stay married after separation, we must give each other a copy of the medical report to make sure that we are both free from sexually transmitted diseases. You're just being disgusting right now. Just being careful. I didn't really plan on dating anyone, as it may only be for 90 days. But if I feel the need for a bed, I can just call the girl from the site. I'm sure you'd like to feel as safe as I do. Remember, it's not just about you. It's all about who you do it with, who they did it with before you, and so on. Jeff tried not to show how much he enjoyed tightening the screws. While Darlene was fuming, Jeff changed the subject. Okay, dare. I promise to tell you what I did to help the separation process. I have a lot of things to do today, most of which start on the 1st. Bank accounts and credit card accounts are the main things to deal with right now, so you have easy access to your money. Mortgages, utility bills, etc. can be resolved within the next week or so. Oh, I do have some positive news about the financial end of the case. Did I tell you that my secretary Jenny works as the night manager at the Royal Arms? These apartments are close to work, so I asked her about vacancies, and they have a 2-bedroom apartment available, but I need to move fast. They are usually too expensive, but she said that if I become an apartment maintenance specialist, I can get a 50s discount on the rent. It means more money for you and the kids. You haven't signed the lease yet, have you? Remember that we have 90 days, and you can just come back here if you play your cards right. She wanted to say something about his secretary being a gold digger, but decided that would only make it worse. No, I haven't signed the lease yet, although I'm afraid I had to explain why I'm looking for an apartment. She said they usually don't rent an apartment from month to month, but since it's going to be for 90 days, she thought she could get approval. When Jenny found out about the divorce, she said she would like me to ask her out. I was surprised by the age difference and all that. I had no idea that she found me attractive. I told her I was flattered, but the rules at work don't allow employees and their supervisors to have anything but a professional relationship. Jenny said she could get a job as a secretary somewhere else, if that's the only thing. That's why I put her on the list. Steam was pouring out of Darlene's ears. She bit her tongue because her thoughts would make things worse if she turned them into spoken words. Without waiting for Darlene's reply, Jeff continued, "The other news is that you really should like it. I booked 2 tickets for a 10-day vacation in Hawaii. I've been waiting to tell you because it was supposed to be a surprise for our 20th anniversary." Darlene's behavior changed 180 degrees. Hawaii. Oh, Jeff, you know how much I've always wanted to get there. It's just fantastic. I can't wait to lie on the beach and swim in the ocean. Thanks. However, Jeff's expression was not the same as his wife's. "We're not going to Hawaii. When you told me that you wanted to get divorced, I assumed that we might not live to see our 20th anniversary. When I tried to cancel the order and get a refund, they said that at this late date I could only get a $20 refund. Thinking about it, I realized that a trip to Hawaii is more like your dream. I thought you should go anyway. So I asked them to change the tickets for you and another person, whose name will be announced later. It can be a very useful start to your new relationship if you can offer your new man a fully paid trip to Hawaii." But, Jeff, you're the one I wanted to go to Hawaii with. We could postpone the separation. Actually, I'm thinking of canceling it all. Now that I have the opportunity to think about my life, I am not so unhappy. I'm sorry, Dare. I've been thinking about it a lot. I don't think it would be pleasant for me to know that we will ever return to a possible divorce process. Even if you're canceling the divorce now, you can't undo what you said you wanted a divorce. And you can't undo what you said you wanted a divorce. And you can't undo my imagination of what you and Robert did when you weren't doing anything special. I will probably go ahead with the divorce, no matter what you decide, although I can't imagine my life without you and how to be only half a father to my girls." Then Jeff went upstairs to the guest bedroom. Darlene was devastated. She knew only one place to go. "Miranda," she called. "Hi, Darlene. How are you?" "Miranda, Jeff has found himself an apartment and his skinny secretary is already flirting with him. And my sister wants to shoot him too. The worst part is that he had tickets to Hawaii for our anniversary and he gave them to me to use. But he's not going. He said I could use them to pick up my new boyfriend. What should I do now?" "Hey, what's the problem? You and Robert will have a great time in the sun, fun, and an incredible bed." "No, I found out that Robert is married and that his wife and children will move here in a few months. I can't. I don't want to go to Hawaii with him. I want to go with Jeff." "Wait a minute. I just realized what's going on," Miranda objected. "Damn it. Jeff is smarter than I thought. He's lying that he booked the trip a long time ago. It was just to make you feel guilty and cancel the divorce process. Don't worry, with your hot little body, you can get boyfriends no worse or better than Robert in the blink of an eye and still have a husband and family." Oh my God. I never thought he could be so angry. I'll make him pay for it. Thank you, Miranda. I was ready to give up. He will really regret it. He will talk later. When Jeff came downstairs, he had some small luggage. "So you're trying to pretend you're already moving out. Don't worry. And good riddance." "Actually, I was just going to take a few things to the apartment so as not to move too much at one time and not scare the girls. Jenny said I could move some things before 1, since the apartment is empty anyway. Your mood seems to have changed since we talked earlier. Let me guess. You talked to your marriage expert, Miranda. You really should talk to a marriage expert if you want to keep being married. Miranda is an expert on divorce." That's all she managed to do. Don't try to get at me by insulting Miranda. She's got my back. She was able to point out your Hawaii ticket scam. You made up this story just to make me give up everything. It's not going to work. I still want a divorce, and I can't wait for a divorce. There are a lot of guys who want me and will give me what I need. You're absolutely right. at least about the guys who want you. I don't doubt for a minute that you'll have a lot of offers once they find out you're available. I've always considered myself the happiest person in the world if I have such a beautiful woman like you, such a wonderful partner in raising children, and until recently, such a faithful wife and lover. You're wrong about going to Hawaii, and I can prove it. Call Lois Simpson at the Flight Right Travel Agency. She organized the trip. I'll call you. Lois, it's Jeff Sinclair again. My wife is talking to me on speakerphone. Now you can tell her about the trip. She had a few questions. Of course, Jeff. I'm so sorry that you can't go. It looks like you really wanted to surprise your wife and enjoy your vacation. What questions did you have, Mrs. Sinclair? Tell me exactly what this so-called trip involves, Darlene growled. This is our 10-day trip to 2 islands. The most popular: hotel, food, transportation, hula lessons, luau, tiki dancers, surfing, swimming, dancing. All this in a romantic setting. I've been with my husband a couple of times, and it really spiced up our marriage. And when did my husband first book this trip? Darlene was sure it would expose the ruse. Let's see. According to my records, he first called about 3 months ago, then chose this particular trip 2 months ago, and paid for it 2 weeks later. Yesterday, he called to cancel the order and get the money. I was sorry that I could only give 20. I was pleasantly surprised that he said, "Go ahead and you'll find someone else to ride with you." It tells me what kind of husband he is. You're just lucky. What other questions do you have? You need to tell me the name of the other person as soon as possible. In fact, I can't book plane tickets until I know this person's name. No other questions. I'll call you soon and give you a name. Darlene tried to imagine what Miranda would say based on this information. After a few seconds, she realized, you think you've tricked me again, don't you? You made an agreement with this Luis that you would pretend that you were planning a trip to Hawaii before I talked about the divorce. Well, I'm smarter. She was proud of herself for realizing this without Miranda's help. Jeff sighed loudly and suggested, "Talk to your parents." What does my parents have to do with it? Who do you think is going to keep the girls while we're gone? Darlene was caught off guard. No, you don't have to do that. I need some time to think. Sorry, Dar, I'm already calling. But Jeff. The call was answered by her mother, who saw the caller's number. Darlene, how are the girls? I'm glad to hear from you. Hi, Mom, Darlene said hesitantly. Hi. Mom, this is Jeff. We're talking on speakerphone. Wait a minute. I'll call your father too. Darlene and Jeff heard in the background. Harold, this is Jeff and Darlene. Come to the phone, dear. Hey, guys. What's the matter? Harold said, joining in the conversation. After Darlene didn't say anything, Jeff spoke up. Darlene knows now, so you don't have to keep it a secret. Son, we're really sorry that you can't go. You didn't tell us why when you called this morning. I hope it's not a disease. When you called and said that we wouldn't babysit the girls while you were in Hawaii, since you weren't going, it disappointed us because we were looking forward to having the girls with us for 10 days. And we were sad for Darlene that you couldn't go with her. We know how much she would like to go on this trip, but she would prefer to go there with you rather than with someone else. Have you decided who to take, Darlene? One of the girls. It's going to be hard for whoever stays. No. Mom, I haven't decided yet. I'm not sure. Harold, do you remember? It was on New Year's Eve, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure. 2 or 3 months ago. He said he wanted to warn us in advance so that we can stock up on junk food. These two can really eat anything and never seem to gain an ounce. Jeff, Darlene's mother intervened. Has something happened to Darlene? Why are you asking when Jeff was talking to us? Is there something wrong between you? Oh my God, did you break up? Darlene replied, "No, Mom, well, not really. We kind of decided that we needed some space, some time away from each other to recharge the marriage battery, and then maybe get back together. Dare, I'm not going to lie to your parents. They have always been honest and open with me. Mom, Harold. Darlene told me last Sunday night that she wanted a divorce. There were sighs on the other end of the line. Darlene tried to save herself. This is not what I really wanted to say. The first part of the divorce procedure is a 90-day separation. I wanted this time to help me find myself, explore new opportunities, improve myself so that I could become a better wife and mother." "Lies," Harold exclaimed. "I recognize liberal lies when I hear them. Darlene, do you have a boyfriend on the side?" "No, Dad. No, not quite." Jeff wanted to say something, but changed his mind. Harold continued as his wife's sobs could be heard in the background. "I can't believe you're capable of this. We raised you better. I'm so disappointed. Don't expect us to be polite to your new man, Darlene. We're really sorry, Jeff. At least you promise you'll let us see our grandchildren after the divorce." Darlene, also sobbing, intervened before Jeff could reply. Jeff blew it all to the limit. "I take back my words. No divorce. There is no separation. I'll talk to you later when everything calms down." Jeff looked at Darlene, who was crying. "Where are you going? Didn't you hear that? I don't want a divorce. You don't have to go anywhere." "Darlene, you unilaterally stated that you wanted a divorce without talking to me in advance. Now you think you can unilaterally declare that we won't get divorced because things aren't going the way you planned. You don't seem to understand that I have the right to vote. After what I've learned about you over the last week, I'm not sure if giving up on a divorce is a good idea. I'll take a sleeping bag from the garage and stay overnight in the apartment." "Jeff, please don't leave." "I'm sorry. You said everything was fine before I mentioned this nonsense about wanting a divorce. Can't you just forget about it and go back to the way it was? You said you were happy." "I was happy, very happy. But I can't forget how you said you were unhappy and how you had a planned affair with Robert. As I said, you have already committed adultery. Sally told me that it would be easy for her to draw up divorce papers. As these are standard divorce terms, she'll probably be able to get them tomorrow." "I'm not signing them," Darlene said sharply. "It doesn't matter. All she has to do is make sure you're officially served. I think she can do it at your job, so there will be a lot of witnesses. Maybe even Robert deserved a claim of alienated affection. Hey, I could even serve your boss for violating company policy, but that would cause you both to lose your jobs. But that goes too far. I need you to be able to take care of the girls after the divorce. I know. I'll just talk to Robert's wife. That should be enough to get back at him." "Why are you so cruel? I love you and you love me. Is there anything I can do to make amends? You said that a divorce would be a hard test for both of us. Don't you want to avoid this pain? I promise never to bring up this divorce mess again. Please stay and let's figure it out." Tears streamed down Darlene's face. Jeff stood motionless and silent. Darlene felt that she had made an impression. "I promise to be the best wife in the world. I won't look at another man. I gave you almost 20 years of a good marriage, 2 wonderful children, and supported your business even when it meant you came in late and dirty. I'm so proud of how you've succeeded. Everyone makes mistakes. Please give me another chance. You are welcome." Finally, Jeff replied, "I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead and take my suitcase and sleeping bag to the apartment. I'm going to ask you to write down a few things. Your words and actions hurt me more than you think. If your answers are what I'm looking for, I'll consider canceling or at least postponing the divorce. I'll be back at 7:00 Perhaps you would like to send the children to your parents or friends so that we can talk freely. Yes, yes. Thanks, what should I write? First of all, I want to apologize for making all this mess. And I want you to beg, not just beg, but ask me for forgiveness. Secondly, I want you to tell Robert not to contact you anymore. Threaten to tell your wife if he persists. Tell him I can file a lawsuit against him and your company if he doesn't comply. Thirdly, I want you to list all the reasons that you can think of why I should consider staying married to you. Finally, I want you to call Miranda and tell her that you never want to talk to her again. It's not up for discussion. If I ever hear the words Miranda says I have to again, I will leave immediately. Do you understand what I'm asking you if you want us to have a chance to stay married? Yes, dear. I think so. I'll do everything and be ready by 7. 0. Good. See you at 7. 0. Jeff picked up his suitcase and left. Darlene started at the end of the list. Listening to you was the worst decision I've ever made. Because of you, I almost lost everything that was dear to me. Never call me, write to me, email me, or even think about me. If you see me in a store or restaurant, leave. Otherwise, I may not be responsible for my actions. Darlene was surprised at how good she felt after she scolded Miranda. Then she called Robert and told him what Jeff had asked her to tell him. She hated hearing Robert, begging her to see him one last time at the motel, calling her names and saying she was probably a lousy lover anyway. She gagged him, telling him that her husband could call his wife if he caused any more trouble. The expected hardest thing on the list actually turned out to be the easiest. A list of reasons why Jeff should want to continue being married to her. Freed from the desire for more than what she and Jeff had, she was able to think about everything that pleased them in their life together. Darlene was able to make a whole list. This should impress Jeff, she thought. She had no problem asking him to forgive her for the divorce scam. How stupid, selfish, and arrogant I was. Never again. By 7. 0. Darlene was ready and feeling confident. She got a little worried when it was 7. 0 and Jeff wasn't there. 5 minutes later, he returned without luggage. Darlene noticed that his face hadn't changed since he left in the afternoon. She tried to be as gracious and humble as possible. Here are my answers. I hope you'll relent. Jeff stared at the list for a long time. As he read, he began to cry. Darlene started crying because he was crying, but she thought the expression of his emotions was a positive sign. That's very impressive, Dare. Her heart fluttered with hope, and she got up to hug him, but he motioned for her to return to her seat. What you have is good, but I still don't know if you realize how much you've hurt me. I'm afraid I'll have to continue the divorce. Darlene was completely devastated. Her heart felt like it had been thrown to the ground. She fell to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Her grief had reached a depth she had never experienced before. In her grief, she said, "I ruined my family's life. I am the worst person on earth. I don't deserve to live. How could I be such a fool?" Jeff knelt down in front of her and whispered, "Now, you see how I felt." While Darlene was sobbing on the floor, he went to the door, stopped, and turned to her. "Am I right that during the separation, we can meet with anyone we want?" It was hard for his wife to pull herself together to say, but she couldn't stop crying long enough to continue. "Okay, if we can date whoever we want, what are you doing on Friday night? Would you like to have dinner and go to the cinema?" What? Are you asking me out on a date? Yes. I think we've completely destroyed our old relationship, but we may have a chance at a new one. Darlene stood up and rushed over to Jeff. Yes, 1,000 times yes.